I call this one the conspiracy song. Let's gather around YouTube and sing our conspiracy song. Our CONSPIRACIES song. And if you don't think that we can sing it faster, then you're wrong. But it'll help if you just sing along.
Boom, boom.
CONSPIRACIES song. CONSPIRACIES song. We found new Emma Chalco and the robot. You should totally go subscribe, but it'll help if you just sing along. CONSPIRACIES song. Jacob. Akeem. Good. It'll help if you just sing along.
Yes, hi, I'm back with another episode challenging the cartoon logic of SpongeBob SquarePants. Why? Because I'm not caught up on current TV and everyone's sick of my Disney rants. I'm Arielle with ChannelFrederator, and today we're going to talk about sea bears. We're going to analyze the effectiveness of an anti-sea bear circle, break down everything you need to know about potentially attracting and avoiding sea bears, and we'll hypothetically discuss how SpongeBob's advice might apply to the bears you might encounter while camping in real life. Stay tuned. A little recap. SpongeBob SquarePants' The Camping episode aired on April 3rd, 2004 as part of its third season on Nickelodeon. The story is that SpongeBob and Patrick have gone camping, just outside of their house, and Squidward decides to join them after he accuses SpongeBob for being passive-aggressive for telling him to have fun inside. Hijinks ensue involving pitching a tent, roasting marshmallows, campfire songs, and all that fun outdoorsy stuff. Squidward starts to play the clarinet, of course, and SpongeBob stops him in a panic, warning him that if he plays the clarinet badly outside, it might attract a sea bear. SpongeBob and Patrick explain all the things you don't want to do to attract this creature. And since they seem like some sort of sea cryptid, Squidward, as supposed intellectual, doesn't believe they exist. So he of course does all the things he was warned not to do. Lo and behold, a sea bear shows up. And the only thing that protects Squidward from getting beaten into calamari is when he jumps into SpongeBob's anti-sea bear circle. The end. Now that we're familiar with the episode and what happens, let's rewind. So Squidward asks SpongeBob and Patrick what attracts a sea bear, and this is the list of things that we're told we shouldn't do. Play the clarinet, wave a flashlight back and forth, stomp around, eat cubed cheese, wear a sombrero in a goofy fashion, clown shoes, a hoop skirt, or scream like a chimpanzee. Honestly, seems legit. I mean, do all that at once and you'll annoy anybody. You are straight up assaulting all of the senses by the look of that outfit, the smell of the cheese, and the sound of your screeching. While all these warnings are oddly specific, they're not as nonsensical as you might think. Why don't we pretend this is all advice given to you on how to avoid trouble with the bear you might find camping on land. Except, please don't take what I say as actual advice. I don't have to tell you that, except I feel like I do. We're talking about SpongeBob SquarePants. Do actual research if you're going to go camping in bear country. Don't stake your life on this video about adults overthinking children's cartoons, okay? Awesome. Alright, anyway. First of all, you want to be careful with your food, because the smell of food or anything that smells even remotely edible could attract a hungry bear. You always want to double bag your food or put it in some kind of bear box or bear canister that they can't get into. Not out in the open on a silver platter all cubed and ready to eat with a toothpick. Leave that out and Yogi Bear will definitely come for your cheese. No, seriously, bears love cheese, especially Tillamook cheese. Be careful handling your hors d'oeuvres. You never want to tease or taunt a bear, and yes, SpongeBob explains that they see stomping around like it's a challenge. Bears on land are more likely to run away in fear if they see you stomping around, making yourself seem big and loud. But for all we know, Bikini Bottom's fictional marine species of bear could be more territorial and more testosterone pumped, ready for a fight. Also, while there are no known cases of waving a flashlight instigating a bear attack, it's still probably not a good move since it might irritate them. It might count as teasing, so don't do it. A really legit piece of advice that SpongeBob gives that I forgot to mention is not to run from sea bears. Because when Squidward runs, the bear comes charging back for more. Did you know that you shouldn't run from any bears? The reason is because it makes you look like prey. The bear sees you running and they're like, ooh, they're scared of me, which means they're probably weaker, which means I could probably
Eat it.
In the case of limping or crawling, you're probably just making yourself look more pathetic and targetable. What you're supposed to do is stand still, facing them, not making eye contact, and back away real slow-like. If they charge at you, it's more likely just a bluff to see if you'll run, sizing you up, deciding if they want to go after you or not. Speaking of bears seeing you as prey, let's talk about the sounds they warned Squidward not to make. Predators, like bears, are drawn to the sound of a dying animal like it's a dinner bell. It's actually a known tactic by hunters and wildlife photographers to make a sound called the rabbit squeal to lure predatory animals to their spot. It mimics the sound of a sad, probably dying rabbit. It's a prey distress call, like a bird call, but morbid. It sounds like this. What I found interesting when I heard this was that it reminded me of a sound that a baby chimpanzee might make. Sea creatures like SpongeBob and Patrick probably don't know what a distressed rabbit might sound like. I didn't. What if SpongeBob and Patrick saw some trash TV on sea bears and heard this prey-like noise and mistook it as a chimpanzee scream? If not, either way, the point I'm trying to make is that Squidward screeching in that sort of way sounds very similar to a call that would normally draw in a bear. The same goes for his clarinet, actually. Remember in the episode Band Geeks where the doctor knocks on Squidward's door concerned that he had a dying animal when all he was doing was playing the clarinet? What about all the things they tell him not to wear? Again, like I said, these fashion choices are very specific and silly because this is SpongeBob SquarePants. But you might be surprised to hear that what you wear around animals is actually relevant in a few different ways. To start, just think about how your dogs and cats react to your strange and creepy Halloween costumes. They might possibly bark violently or growl and hiss at you. If you were a big bear, you might feel threatened and defensive too, ready to attack. The first thing that comes to mind for a lot of people when talking about animals in fashion is bulls and their vendetta against the color red. It was rumored for a long time that you shouldn't wear red around them because it would make them angry and they would charge. But Mythbusters cracked that one a long time ago and found out that it wasn't the color that pissed them off, it was the movement of the cape. Bulls are actually blind to the color red. That being said though, some animals' moods are affected by colors. I found an article on Seeker.com that described an experiment performed by Brianna Putnam where she tested animal behavior involving colors. When she went out to catch western fence lizards or bluebellies for research, they were twice as easy to catch when she wore blue like them. They wouldn't run as much as if the color blue that she wore was more comforting to their species. She also had birds that wore different colored bands, and if the bird had on a band that didn't match its species' usual colors, it had trouble finding a mate because the other birds were kind of turned off by it. They wanted mates wearing warmer colors that were familiar to them. It was how they recognized each other as another one of their kind and not some other type of bird with some awkward, unmatching blue or green accessory on their leg. Ew, like, why is Kevin wearing green? It, doesn't match his feathers at all. Come on, guys, Brianna said I looked cool. I'll never get a date to the dance. Another scenario where what you wear affects animal behavior is the concept of aposematism. This is when an animal sees colors as a warning sign. In most cases, these are bright colors or high contrasting colors. Think of how poisonous frogs are so vibrant and colorful. It's a way of telling predators, I'm toxic, or at the very least I don't taste very good, so I wouldn't if I were you. Animals kind of instinctively know to be cautious. When it comes to what we wear, there is an experiment that I read about on barkpost.com, where New Zealand researcher Dr. Chimove decided to research how shelter dogs reacted to a man's different colored outfits when he walked by their kennels. He tried walking by in highly contrasted striped shirts and solid shirts, and it turned out that the dogs were far more active when a striped shirt was worn. They acted fearful and submissive, like they were scared there was a stripy poisonous snake in the room. If they didn't think he was a snake, at the very least it made them uncomfortable. I don't know about you, but I'd be uncomfortable seeing someone walking around in Squidward's outfit too. His skirt isn't a solid color, by the way. I dare call it a striped skirt. That about covers everything when it comes to taking off sea bears, or bears in general. It does seem like there's a legitimacy to SpongeBob and Patrick's warnings. Like, if you went camping in the woods, it probably wouldn't be smart for you to do what Squidward is doing. One of, if not all of his actions could be drawing in some very unwanted attention. But now we're left with the last question. The bear is here and it is angry. We've been advised by Fake Science Monthly to draw an anti-sea bear circle. Would it actually work against a real bear? Let's ask the question, are animals in general affected by circles on the ground? Yeah, in a few cases. On a grand scale, animals are known to act strange in the presence of a crop circle. However, it's been proven by picking up on frequency readings that crop circles give off some kind of weird ultrasonic energy that seems to be the cause of that. And that is a whole other discussion. Aliens. We're just drawing circles in the dirt here. In a simpler case, allow me to bring you back to 2014 where Reddit user AdmanCB discovered that his cat liked to sit inside of circles. It was a cute post, so naturally it trended. For a while, people were creating circles with tape or objects to see if their cats would want to sit inside them. They did. But the problem with this information versus what we're discussing here is that these circles were inviting to these guys. They weren't avoiding them like some sort of force field. They wanted to go in. Plus, SpongeBob insists that it has to be a circle, and some of these photos show cats sitting inside enclosed spaces such as hectagons, octagons, squares, even triangles. So it's no good to us. If it's any addition, my own cat Sully does this weird thing where he sees the break between my bedroom carpet and the hallway carpet, and he feels like he has to jump over it like it's some kind of barrier. It's just something to think about in the case of how cats perceive lines on the floor. Sully goes through my door just fine, but he still acknowledges it as some kind of obstacle he has to cross, you know? The only scenario I can find where an animal would not cross a line on the ground was through the use of insecticide chalk. A toxic chalk that's now illegal in the US where you draw around stuff that you don't want bugs to get into. But that's just tiny little bugs, and SpongeBob's circle didn't work because of chalk. In that case, it's not the circle that works, it's the substance you're using. We have to find protection through a circle. I repeat, it has to be a circle. This had me stuck for a bit. As much as I had hoped to find an article about zookeepers drawing circles around their animals' favorite snacks to see if they'd still cross the line and eat, Google came up with nothing like that. What did come up were magic circles. Look, we established a few weeks ago that SpongeBob is a balanced, enlightened, powerful individual, and you know what? I'm gonna go there. Let's roll with this for a minute. While performing witchcraft, you can draw a circle around yourself with salt, chalk, or some other means, like, say, in the dirt with a stick. Granted, magic circles in real life are probably more effective if they're drawn more detailed and more ritualistic steps are taken, but if you've watched enough horror movies, in my case I've only seen this in Hocus Pocus, you might recall that a simple ring of salt can do the trick on its own. If you've seen Supernatural, you know that the Winchester brothers are constantly using rings of salt to keep baddies and demons at bay. The salt acts like a barrier they can't pass. These salt circles are based on the more complex magic circles, so they can be used for protection, especially against spooky monsters. And you know, they're in the ocean surrounded by salt water, so a circle drawn in the dirt is technically a ring of salt by default, technically, right? Does that count? We'll let it count. But I think that the sea bear is a straight up non-mythical, non-spooky sea bear. So he can probably cross the salt and you are probably screwed, especially if you're on land. Please don't protect yourself from bears with salt on land. As entertaining as it might be for me to go out into the woods in a sombrero, clown shoes, and a hoop skirt to see if I can get a bear sighting, that would be a much more dangerous experiment than me blowing bubbles in my backyard, wouldn't it? I'm 5 feet tall. A grizzly bear could swallow me whole. I do think it would be interesting if a zoo tried what I mentioned about putting food inside of a circle on the ground. That kind of investigation would make or break the idea of an anti-sea bear circle. So if any zookeepers are out there watching, let me know if you're up for this experiment. But there's still one central part of this theory that I haven't explored. Are sea bears even real? Or are they like ocean Bigfoots? Get f***ed, Squidward, sea bears are real. They're really called water bears or tardigrades. In no exaggeration, these things are actually the most indestructible, powerful, borderline immortal creatures on this planet. Tardigrades can survive extreme heat up to 300 degrees Fahrenheit, freezing cold temperatures almost 500 degrees below zero, take lethal electric shocks and radiation exposure like it's nothing, and they can survive the vacuum of space. No big deal. They just curl up into little cocoons and defend themselves, and they can hibernate in their little safe space for like 100 years if they wanted. So in other words, they're like real life cryptids with mythical powers. If they were the size depicted on the show and they had beef with you, Squidward would actually have something to worry about. Except there's a catch. These dudes are itty bitty, like 1 millimeter in length. The largest recorded being 1.5 millimeters. If the show's sea bear was accurate, it would have 8 legs and would be the size of Plankton. Psst. Hey Plankton, I think we found that army you need to get the Krabby Patty formula. The more you know. Alright, let's drop this one off with 3.5 broken guitars out of 5 and call it an episode. I chose that score because SpongeBob and Patrick didn't give Squidward the worst advice. A lot of it was relevant. The sea bear circle idea is a little hokey and I wouldn't recommend it. And I threw in a little half point because sea bears aren't only real, they're badass. I'm Arielle, better known as R2 Ninja Turtle. Thanks for watching, subscribe, you're the best. Oh, and watch out for them sea bears. They're not just in the ocean, like they're literally everywhere. Remember, Frederator loves you!